Well, hello, Young and the Restless Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Friday, May the 12th, 2023. Friday, May the 12th. Well, we have Jack received a text from Daniel, and Daniel's asking if he could, come and talk to Jack. And Jack's like, fine, come on over. So anyway, he's wondering what could this be about, but bottom line, he does want to offer condolences to Daniel or whatever. And he sees Michael walks into Crimson Lights, and he says, Michael, you know what, you walked in just in time, you want to be a part of this. And he goes, about what? He goes, getting Diane off of murder charges. And Michael said, oh, lead the way. Lead the way, right? But before that, Jack gets the text from Daniel, Tucker walks through the morning. Hey, Jack. And Jack couldn't wait to lay in on Tucker about Diane, him offering Diane or trying to convince Diane to flee. And he goes, I wasn't trying to convince her. I was just, giving her some options. This is ugly and messy. And, you know, Jack's laying into Tucker didn't phase Tucker one bit. Tucker kind of likes to be in the middle of a little mix some kind of way because it ain't gonna phase him, especially where Jack Abbott is concerned, right? So then we have Chelsea and Connor are meeting Billy and Johnny for dinner, early dinner. So Johnny and Billy are there. Billy and Johnny, yeah. Johnny and Billy are there first, and they're talking. And Johnny was being a little snarky about, his little sister and how she gets on his nerves and blah blah blah. And Billy's like, "Hey, watch it. That's my daughter you're talking about." And he goes, "Yeah, and that's my sister too." It's typical big brother little sister because there is a big age gap between those two, or not huge, but big enough. So Chelsea and Connor walk in. We've got Connor being back to bratty, pissy Connor, you know, mad at the world Connor, back at that, right? So he isn't really speaking to Chelsea. Everything sucks. He's short about everything. And so he was like a little snippy even at the table first sitting down. So Billy says, you know what? Hey, bud, let's go outside. Let's talk a little bit. So he takes him out of society because they're at society, where you can see through the glass panes. And he's talking to him. And he goes, you know what? I know change can be difficult sometimes. And Connor's like, yeah, pretty much talk kind of not really addressing Billy, but is that all you have to say? Okay, can we go back inside? He goes, no, Connor, listen, I really, need you to understand they're not going to love you any less. Your mom doesn't love you any less now that you know that Johnny is your brother. And that was a change, but you've done well with that change, And he's like, and this new baby is not going to live with you, but your family is, expanding. And Connor is just like, still not wanting to express himself, not wanting to say his feelings, kind of blowing Billy off. And inside, Johnny's talking to Chelsea. And he's just saying sometimes his little sister gets on his nerves. Look at the bright side. Connor should look at the bright side. At least the baby's not going to be living with him. So anyway, Johnny decides to go outside, and he's just doing real brother talk. Ain't no soft, touchy feely stuff. He's like, look, it's a change. You got to get used to it. I had to get used to it. And then I think he even told him, at least she's not going to be living with you. And and Billy looks at something else Connor said. Billy's like, not Connor, something else Johnny said. And Billy is kind of like, John, like that ain't helping, right? And so Connor's like, you all don't know how I feel. It's not as easy as you think, or just I wish everything is fine. I'm fine. Everybody needs to just leave me alone. And so Connor stomps pretty much back into the restaurant. I mean, I'm like, we've been there before with Connor. Remember, Connor was not good Connor when he tried to uh hurt Christian or lock Christian in the garage, and nobody knew where Christian was. So I guess we're dealing with that kind of Connor right now. So Daniel goes over, he takes Michael to Jack's, and he tells them Phyllis is alive. He tells them the whole plan, what the whole plan was and how it went wrong. He says she called me, I got a text from this anonymous number I didn't know, and saying they had information on my mother. So I went to the park. He goes, I didn't know if it was a prank or not. And she showed up and she told me what happened. And they're like, Phyllis is alive? I knew it. I knew Diane didn't commit murder. And, Kyla's like, I knew mom didn't do, oh. So Daniel, what I liked about it, I love the twist he put, that she came to me and not Summer. And he doesn't want Summer told because she may feel, why couldn't she come to me? Why couldn't she trust me? He goes, and so they're like, it doesn't, what? So Jack is like, all he could think about, no, we got to clear Diane's name right now. Tell him, Michael, call Christine. We have to do this, this, and this. And Michael's like, slow down. First, he had to take in a breath. He goes, Phyllis is not dead. Are you sure? And he goes, I saw her, Michael. Did you get a picture? No, I didn't get a picture because I was in shock, Michael. I wasn't thinking about let me get, so, and he goes, well, okay, now let's everybody slow down. No, we can't call Christine. He goes, Daniel, first things first, where's Phyllis now? I don't know. She hasn't called me since. But I know she's alive. She wanted me to know she was alive. And she's trying to figure this out. And so he goes, and we need to help her. We need to help her get her back here. And we need to make sure she gets cleared of the charges. And Jack's like, no, we need to make sure Diane gets cleared. There's Diane. And so then he goes, why couldn't Phyllis? Phyllis could have come to me, is what Jack said. And Daniel looked at him and said, no, she couldn't. Because we had all shut her out. My mother had tried coming to and talking to her friends, and everybody shut her out. Well, Michael and Lauren did. Michael did, but Lauren didn't, right? And so then Jack looks at him. He goes, no, but what I'm saying is, if he goes, if she would have come to you, Jack, with what happened here, what would you have done? And so Jack looks, and so Daniel goes, like, pretty much exactly, Jack, because you wouldn't have helped my mother. As a matter of fact, ever since Diane came back to town, you've pretty much been against my mother. He goes, no, that has nothing to do. He goes, anyway, Jack, we need to bring my mother back, yes, but we all need to protect her. We need to try to make sure. She goes, Michael, you need to help my mother. And Michael said, Daniel, it's not that easy, nor is it going to play out the way you think it's going to play out. For one, I'm representing Diane. It'd be a conflict of interest, me representing Phyllis too. Can't represent them both. But two, we need to figure out a way. He goes, right now, you are a grieving. Reason why we can't go forward with this right now, you're a grieving son. Your emotions, your mental well-being is all over the place. Let's tell this story. You got an anonymous call. You met her. It's your mother. You don't have picture. You don't have proof. You don't know where she's at. She hasn't contacted you since. How did she get to the park? What kind of ride did she take? How can we see? You know nothing. Right now, Daniel, the only thing you do know, he says, is you know more about Stark's murder than you should. He says, that could implicate you as a culprit. And Daniel looked, he goes, I hadn't. He goes, no, I know you had nothing to do with it. But see, we got to tread lightly. We got to tread carefully with this. Okay? This is no easy thing, but we have to do it right. So Daniel was like, okay. And so he goes, first and foremost, we need to get Phyllis back here. And so Jack is like, so we can clear Diane's name and we can, and exonerate Diane. And so Kyle said, and we need to do it in a way to help my mother and get her, clear her of these charges, because Stark was the mastermind. Okay. And so she goes, do you want my mother to go to jail? Forever, Jack? And you know what Jack looked at Kyle and said? Well, if it was good enough for Diane, it's good enough for Phyllis. Oh. And then that's when Kyle looked at Jack and said, oh, no, Jack, we're going to find a way to help my mother. See, because in reality, Daniel could look up and say, that was a dream. And what you're talking about was a dream. And he's seen, once he could see the way Jack was and all Kyle is, see, I knew my mother was innocent. I got to tell Summer. My mother was innocent. I was right. Oh, and by the way, yeah, her mother's alive. But her mother planned the whole thing. Oh, see, no. So Daniel said, nope, don't tell Summer. Summer needs to be in the dark. And so Michael actually said, we tell no one. We don't tell Diane, because if Diane finds out that Phyllis and Stark were behind this, Diane will gnaw off that ankle bracelet and she will try to locate Phyllis herself. And that would put Diane right back in jail. So no, Diane would make this worse. So Michael said, no one can know until we can figure out the best course of action for everyone. Understand this, Kyle. This needs to be handled delicately. I don't want to lie to Summer. And I'm thinking, no, not lie to Summer. You don't have a problem lying to Summer, right? So Michael's like, oh, you're that guy. And he goes, what do you mean? Oh, I don't want to lie to my mother. I don't want to lie to my wife. He says, but you've done other things. I'm just saying, we have to keep this under wraps. So Diane comes from the back. I didn't see her come down the stairs. Well, what are you all doing? What are you talking about? Is this about the case? Daniel, what are you doing here? And Kyle's looking like, I want to tell. And Daniel's thinking, should I tell? And so Diane, of course, gives her heartfelt tribute to Daniel. You have to believe I did not do this. I did not. And Daniel says, oh, I believe you. And Diane looks, she goes, wait, you do? Yeah, I believe you. I looked at, I'm really starting to look at all the evidence. And you're right. I think we do need to look at Stark. Yes, we do. We do need to look at Jeremy Stark. But she's still looking like, why are you? Because everybody's ready to jump in as to what Daniel feels and why Daniel's there. And she goes, look, I want to hear from Daniel. Why are you all trying to speak from Daniel? So Daniel said what he said. And then Michael jumps in and he goes, so we need to focus our attentions on, getting evidence proving that Stark was involved. So it was good enough. They snowed Diane over well enough, right? Daniel leaves. Michael and Jack end up leaving because Jack decides after Michael leaves, I'm calling Christine anyway. Because Kyle has said, I don't know how long I can keep this for my mother, and Summer needs to know, and I don't like lying to him, and this, that, but they were lying to Summer all these months about Jack and Diane's scheming against Stark, right? It's okay to keep Summer in the dark about all of that. So no, you're selective with what you keep it or in the dark with. So anyway, Jack texts Christine. Oh no, Jack leaves. Diane comes downstairs and she's talking to Kyle. And something she says to Kyle, I forget what it was. And Kyle stands up and he looks at her. I have something I have to tell you. And I thought, if you blurt that out, see, because right now they could care less about Phyllis coming back on any kind of good terms. They could care less about that. Him and Jack. Michael's the only one trying to make sure he can mitigate as much damage as he can. Really, that's what Michael's trying to do. So the scene cuts there, and actually that's at the end pretty much. Now we have Devon and Harmony, right? Not Devon and Harmony, his mother. She comes over, spends the day with her grandson, which is the first time she has spent the day with him. And they had a good time, and she's trying to get Devon to go back into music because she brought a little, I think, drum set or whatever kind of musical instrument for the baby, and he already had some. And he's got such natural talent. Okay, sure, we all think that, right? And so Tucker comes over, and now we got a whole little family, mommy and daddy, sitting here talking, and Harmony saying, I wish she'd go by Yolanda. What, Yolanda? I'm trying to convince Devon to go back into music. And Tucker's like, oh, really? And she goes, it's just natural. It's in you. This, that, and the other. And Devon's like, no, I haven't really physically been a music. He goes, I haven't done that in years, decades. Because come on, everybody. When was the last time did you see Devon on stage performing? I haven't. When Neo got Devon into the music business, Tucker got Devon into the music business when he gave him one of his music divisions. Hamilton, it was Hamilton Music or Hamilton Music, I think. Right? That's how Devon got into the artist game. I don't ever recall Devon playing any kind of instrument, but Harmony seems to be, he was just this talented X, Y, and Z. And Devon is like, no, I run a music company. That's good enough for me. I'm spending time developing this family dynamic with Abby now and Dominic. And now, and I still run a company. I don't have time to be personally involved with playing music. Well, I just hate for a good talent to go to waste. And then I was reminiscing about before Tucker got there, when you were so little, we used to do all this good stuff, in and out, all this good stuff. And I'm thinking, but you were on drugs most of his young life. Period. That's how he ended up in the system. But yes, there may have been a year or two where you did something when you were clean. But anyway, goodness, I don't know. And now she's sitting back there with Tucker and hearing Dominic diddling whatever on the little mic, and Devon goes up to check on him, and they're hearing Devon talk to Dominic, and she goes, doesn't that sound great, talking to Tucker? Well, I just, I just wish he would go back into music. And Tucker's kind of like, well, I think he's okay what he's doing. I mean, it's like, what, in my mind, what pipe dream are you dealing with, Harmony? Make your vacation short and go back home. You didn't come to see your child. Tucker sent a car for you. So that means you were not that far away. He didn't send a plane for you. He sent a car. Dominic will be 2 this summer. I'm just saying, there's something not right with that picture. Period. So anyway, that was about it. Tucker was just happy to be let into the mix. Really, he just sitting there enjoying being able to sit in Devon's on her couch and the focus not be on him, but he be able to be around it. That made him happy. And actually, that made me happy. I really, really like Tucker. So that's where we are with that. We've got Daniel trying to protect, bring Phyllis home peacefully in a way that'll protect her. We've got Jack showing just how much he actually did care about her. Because he goes, it was good enough for Diane. And what Daniel should have said, oh, I'm sorry. Like when Diane staged her death and Diane let my mother be implicated in it and be a suspect. And I'm sorry, Nikki Newman was the one that spent some time in jail for that as a suspect, right? Well, it was good enough for Diane to let Nikki do it. It was good enough for Phyllis to let Diane spend some time in jail. See, Jack don't want to think about that because Diane has changed. We don't want to talk about the bad she's done. She's changed. So anyway, we'll be back on Monday with the next daily recap of The Young and the Restless.